Bingham. Going to give them a couple minutes to get everybody on board.
Hello, Jeff. This is Teacher Robin from the background, and I actually had to just click enter. So we have started so now all of our friends are joining us and we are officially recording. So we'll give a hot second and turn it on over to Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hello, my friends. It's so great to see you again at the APH seminar, and I'm so excited for our topic today. We are going to find our inner chefs and build our skills so that we can be better at cooking in the kitchen. And one of the skills that we need to develop is our skill to be able to cut food. So I'm really excited to be with you today and help you learn that skill. So I'm hoping everybody has their materials ready. We're going to need a cutting board. We are going to need a fork. We are going to need a butter knife. And we are going to need a banana, some stick cheese or some string cheese, and we're going to need a hot dog. And I just want you guys to know that you can see my face in one camera, but I also have another camera set up so that you can see my hands and that you can see my cutting board, because it's hard when you just have to listen to somebody talk about it. If you have a screen right there with the camera shooting right at my hands, it'll be easier for you to see what I am doing. So the first thing I want to talk about today is our knife. And we are starting with a butter knife. And a butter knife is the kind of knife that we use when we're at the dinner table and usually eating our food. A butter knife is not sharp, but it has some little parts on the blade that are kind of jaggedy edges, and that is called serration. And the serration is the part that can saw back and forth on our food and help us cut it. So as we get started with our knife, I just want to take a little trip and explore our knife and explore all of the parts. So the first part I want to talk about is the handle. And knives can come in all different shapes and sizes. So the knife that I have here is relatively flat, but your knife at home may have a handle that's kind of rounded or a little bit chunkier. It may feel a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier than the other part of our knife, which is the flat part called the blade. So we're going to hold our knife the same way that we hold our cane. We're going to be using our butter knife, and we're going to be holding on to the handle part with the hand that holds our cane. And we're going to be using a similar grip. We're going to be wrapping our hand. We're going to be holding the handle in our palm and wrapping our fingers around that handle. And we want to make sure that we're holding it with our fingers on the bottom and the top of our hand on the top. And I can know that I'm holding this correctly because when I feel straight out from my hand and follow the knife, I'm feeling a straight, flat part of the blade. And it's not the wide part of the blade, it's very skinny, and it's the top part. So that's how I'm holding my handle of my butter knife. And I'm just gonna kind of rotate it here in the camera so you can see it from different angles. The blade extends past my thumb and my index finger. So that is the handle of our knife. The next part of our knife that I want to talk about is that long, flat, skinny part. And that's called the blade. The blade is the part of my knife that does all the work. That's the part that has the edge that on a sharp knife can be sharp. But that's why we're using a butter knife this time, so we can really feel it and explore it and not worry about cutting our hands. So you can take your non-dominant hand and you can feel that blade. You can feel how it's very skinny. I can pinch the blade between my index finger and my thumb, and I can slide it all the way down. I can feel that the blade has that part that connects to the handle. And on my grip, that's where my thumb is. It's just slightly past that point. And that helps me feel like I have a lot of control of my knife. As I'm exploring my blade a little bit more, I can feel that very top skinny part. And it's long and very skinny underneath my index finger. And it's not the sharp part. It's not rounded at all. This is called the spine of our blade. And as I follow the spine all the way down to the very end of my blade, I come to the part that's the end, and it's called the tip. The tip is the part of the blade that I want to use when I'm first cutting into some food, because that's going to give me the rest of my blade to help cut it. So the side that's opposite of my spine is the edge. And if I have a sharp knife, the edge is the part that is sharp. But on my butter knife, I can take my fingers very gently and I can feel the little jaggedy parts. And that's the serration on my butter knife that helps me to cut. So I'm just going to review one more time. We have the handle of our knife. The handle is the chunkier part that we hold. And do I use my non-dominant hand or the N to hold it? Or do I use my dominant hand or my cane holding hand to hold my knife? If I use my cane holding hand, you can type a C in the chat. If I use my non-cane holding hand, you can type an N in the chat. Let me know, which hand am I going to use to hold my knife? Nikki has it. She says we are holding it with our cane holding hand. Love it. Our cane holding hand is also called our dominant hand. Very good. Now that we are holding it, do I hold my knife like I'm going to hold a pencil? Or do I hold my knife like I'm holding my cane? So if you think I hold it like a pencil, type a P for pencil in the chat. And if you think I hold it like I hold my cane, type a C. Oh, I'm seeing these answers flooding in. We hold it like a cane. Nice job. So are my fingers along the bottom of the handle, or are they along the top of the handle? If they're on the bottom, type a B. And if they're on the top, type a T. As I'm holding it, where are my fingers going to go? Nice. They're going to go along the bottom of the handle because I'm going to put the handle, I'm going to kind of cradle it in my palm. Nice job. So now that we've got a good grip on our knife, let's go down and talk some more about the other side of my knife. If that part of my knife, it's called the blade. And my blade has two parts. It has the spine part and it has the edge part. If I'm looking at a knife that's sharp, Is it the spine that's sharp, or is it the edge that is sharp? Type an S if it's the spine. Type an E if it's the edge. I love it. I can see answers coming in the chat that say yes, the edge is the sharp part of our knife. And with our butter knife, it's not sharp. It has these serrations, the jaggedy part. Very good. And I can know that I'm touching the spine because I don't feel the jaggedy part, and it's very straight and very thin. And the last part that I want to talk about one more time as we review is to just come along and feel down that spine to the very end. And that part is called the tip. The tip is going to be the part that really helps us helps us cut into our food as we're using our knife. Nice job, you guys, on reviewing our knife and our parts of our knife. But cutting maybe requires another tool. Sometimes I need a tool that can help me to hold on to my food that I'm cutting. And to use that, I'm going to use a fork. Nice. We also need another tool, and that is correct. I see in the chat that we need a cutting board. We would need a cutting board because without it, we would cut into the surface. So if I'm cutting food on my countertop, I can damage or cut into my countertop. Or if I'm cutting on my table, I could make little marks on my table as I'm cutting through. Another really nice thing about using a cutting board is I can make sure that my cutting board is very clean. Sometimes if I'm cutting on another surface, I don't know for sure if it's clean, but my cutting board, I can put in my dishwasher sometimes, or I can wash it with a special solution to kill all the germs and make sure that it's very clean. That's an awesome point. Thanks for pointing that out. I want to talk about another tool that we can use with our knife to help us cut. And I use a fork. Sometimes when I have food on my plate that I want to cut, I don't want to touch it with my fingers because my fingers will get dirty and messy. So I can use a fork to help me hold my food down while I'm using the knife. My fork can also be like a cane. I can use, like I use my cane when I walk to help me find where I'm going and know where things are. I can use my fork like a food cane, and my fork can help me locate where the food is on my plate. So if we're going to use a fork as a tool as well, we need to explore our fork a little bit and find out the parts of the fork. Forks, just like knives, also have handles, and handles are the part that we hold. So when I'm holding my fork to eat, I have kind of a different grip than I have when I'm holding my knife. I don't usually grip my fork with my fingers on the top when I eat. However, when I'm using my fork as a tool, I am going to hold it kind of like a knife. So I'm just going to explore our handle right now, and then I'll talk to you about some landmarks on our fork that we can find to help us get the right grip. So when I sit down to the table and I have a fork by my plate, the bottom of the fork is sitting on the table. And that means that the part of the fork that I use to put the food on, it has a little bit of a concave shape. That means it's sloped in, kind of like the inside of a bowl. So as I feel along my fork on my table, if I start at the bottom of the handle and I move my finger up the handle, I'll notice that my finger drops down just a little bit, and then it slopes up just a little bit, kind of like we're gonna launch our finger off the end of that fork. That's called concave. And that, when I feel the tines sloping up, that's how I know that I have the top of the fork. If I take my fork and I turn it over on my table, so it's upside down, if I follow the handle from the end of the handle up towards the pokey part of the fork, I slide it up, I notice my finger goes up over a little hill or a speed bump. And then it goes down kind of like a slippery slide. And that's how I know I have the back. So I'm going to take my fork, and I'm going to pick it up with my non-dominant hand. Because when I'm cutting, I need my cane hand or my dominant hand to be holding the knife, because the knife is going to be doing most of the work. So I'm going to pick it up with my non-cane hand, and I'm going to find the spot on my handle where the handle meets the part of the fork that holds the food. On my fork, there's like a little bump there. And on that little bump, I like to put my index finger, and then all of my other fingers wrap around the handle. And then I can feel straight down from my index finger, and I have the little bump, and then my finger goes off the slide, just like we're going down a slippery slide. So that is a great way to hold the fork. However, if that doesn't feel really comfortable to you, it's also okay to use like a fisted grab if you need to help you have control. And when I hold it with a fisted grab, I put the handle all in my fist, and I wrap my fingers around and my thumb around too. And if that helps you have more control and be independent, I say go for it. That would be awesome. And the one thing I didn't talk about is we have a part on our fork that is the sharp part, the little pokey parts that we can stab into the food. These have a special name. These are called tines, T-I-N-E-S, tines. And those are these little individual pieces that come off that we can poke into our food to get a hold of it and get it on our fork. My fork has 4 tines. I want you guys to feel your fork and type in the chat, how many tines does your fork have? Does it have 4 like mine? Or sometimes they have 3. Nice. I'm seeing an answer of 4 tines. 4. 4 is pretty common. And Mike says 3. That's really cool. You don't see that very often, but sometimes you do. All right. So I just want to ask you guys a couple quick questions. Do I hold the tines of my fork when I want to stab it into food, or do I hold the handle? Type a T if you think I hold the tines, or type an H if you think I hold the handle. Nice. Very good. We hold the handle for both our fork and for our knife. Nice job. What is the part of the fork that stabs into the food? Is it the back of the fork, or is it the tines of the fork? Type a B if you think that it's the back of the fork, or T if you think it's the tines of the fork. I see a couple answers for those tines, and you are correct. Nice job. We take those 4 or those 3 little individual skinny sharp points, and that's what we poke down into our food. And that helps us get food on our fork so that we can eat. And it also helps hold the food down if we need to cut it. So now I think we have a pretty good idea of what we need to do to hold our knife and also how to hold our fork so that we can cut. So I'm going to start out and I'm going to take my fork and I want to find the back side of it. So I'm going to make sure that my fork is on the table in front of me upside down. And remember, upside down meant my fork, as I trailed the handle, got a little speed bump or a little hill, and then we slid down the slide. So I have my fork upside down. Now I'm going to take my hand. I'm going to put the index finger right on that part of my fork where the handle meets the top of the tines. And then I'm going to wrap my fingers around that handle. All right, now I'm going to pick up my knife by my handle so that I'm holding it like a cane. And so the edge or the serrated part of my knife is facing down. Now I'm going to show you a really great trick to quickly figure out if the serrated part of your knife is facing down. I'm going to take my fork and my knife, and I'm going to take the edge of my knife and place it perpendicular or crossways to one of the tines of my fork. And then I'm going to pull my knife back across that. And then let's listen. Can you guys hear that it makes almost like a zipper sound when I do that? If you can hear it, type a yes or a Y in the chat. Nice. That's how I know I have the serrated side facing down. Now, if I switch the grip of my knife in my hand so that I'm holding my knife upside down, and I do the same thing, I hold my blade perpendicular to the tine of my fork and I drag it across. Listen to this. Can you guys hear that zipper sound? It sounds pretty quiet on my end. I think it'll probably sound pretty quiet on your end too. One more quick question to ask. Sometimes we have silverware that's not metal. I wonder if my trick works on plastic silverware too. So I'm holding my fork and I'm holding my knife, and I'm going to do the same trick. I'm going to run the blade perpendicular to the tine, and then let's listen. Did you guys hear the sound? Yes, it still makes that sound. So that's how I know the serrated edge is down. It's a great trick. You can do it on a plate or you can do it on a fork. Either way, you'll still be able to hear that you have that serrated edge. So we're going to start out with our technique for cutting our food by picking up our knife in our dominant or our cane holding hand and picking up our fork in our non-dominant hand. And remember, our fork is upside down. So we go over the little speed bump and down the slide if I run my finger down my finger and down the back. So I'm going to use my fork to push down into my cutting board and pretend that I'm stabbing some food. Once I've done that, I'm going to find the flat edge of my blade. That's the edge that's like the side of it. And I'm going to bring it over to tap the tines of my fork. And I'm going to turn a couple ways to see. There we go. Once I found it, I'm going to slide it down the slippery slide of the back of my fork. And then I'm going to saw back and forth just like that. Awesome. One more time, I'm going to show you again from a different angle. I'm going to poke my fork down onto my cutting board. Then I'm going to take the blade of my knife, the flat side of it, and tap it against the flat side of the tines of my fork. Then I'm going to take it sliding down the edge of the fork and saw back and forth. When I saw back and forth, I'm sawing away from me and then toward me, and away from me and toward me. And when I'm cutting food, I'm going to saw until I can hear my knife is against the plate. Awesome. So I think it's ready for us to try this technique on some actual food. I'm going to get my banana and I need to peel my banana. So here's my question for you guys. When you peel a banana, do you peel it from the stem or do you peel it from the other end? If you peel it from the stem, type an S. If you peel it from the other end, type an O. Monica knows my trick. I love it. Donnie peels up from the stem and so does Jeremy. Well, I want to show you guys a trick because sometimes I have a hard time peeling my banana when I peel it from the stem. So I'm going to feel the end with the stem and I'm going to follow my banana all the way down to the other end. And mine has like a really kind of nice bump down there. You'll also notice on your banana, there's some ridges or some little high points. So I'm just going to take my thumbnail and poke at one of those ridges and the peel just opens up so easily right there. And then you can grab it the other way too. And this is actually how monkeys peel bananas. They don't peel it from the stem, they peel it from the other end. But is there a wrong way to peel a banana? I don't think there is. As long as you get that peel off and you get it off of the banana so you can eat it, you've done it right. So I have my banana all peeled right here in front of me, and I'm going to set it on my cutting board, and I'm going to make sure that it's going horizontal or left to right. I don't want to cut it so it's going away from me. That's hard for me to do. So my banana is going left to right in front of me. I'm going to pick up my fork upside down with the tines arching away. I'm going to use that fork to tap all around my banana. I'm using my fork like a food cane. So I can tell it's going a long ways left to right. And then there's a skinny part on the right. And then another long way to the left. And then another skinny part. So what I want to do is, since I'm right-handed, I'm going to work my cutting from the right side to the left. If you're left-handed, you might want to work from left to right. I'm going to feel my banana and make sure that I can feel that banana underneath the arched part of the tines of my fork. So I can feel that. Then I'm going to drag it up the side of the banana and move it back just a little bit. And I'm going to press my fork down into my banana. Now I'm going to pick up my knife. I'm going to tap it against the fork, slide it down, and saw back and forth. Bananas can be pretty soft, so you might not have to saw very much. My banana is still a little bit green, so it's a little bit firmer. Then I'm going to pull my fork up because it's not hard to pull my fork out of the banana. I'm going to pull my fork up the side to the left a little bit, stab it down, take my knife, tap it against the tines of the fork, slide it down, and saw. I've made 2 slices of banana. This is a great technique that can help you as you're cutting your food on your plate. I've used this technique before to cut pancakes. I've used it to cut waffles. What do you think you could cut by using your fork to stabilize your food and then sliding the knife? Type it in the chat and let me know what you think you can cut. We could cut pizza. That would be awesome. Again, I've got my fork against the edge of the banana. I'm pulling it up the edge of the banana, sliding it back just a little bit, stabbing it down in. I'm going to tap my knife against the tines of the fork, slide it down, and saw back and forth to cut. Oh, nice. I see a suggestion in the chat that we can cut chicken nuggets with it. Sometimes the chicken nuggets are too big for me to eat with just pop it in my mouth and eat. I see a suggestion of cutting bananas with it. Nice. Oh, donuts. Now you guys are the ones making me hungry. I can't believe it. So I'm just going to keep using this technique to cut my banana. And then I want to show you another technique, another part of this technique that can help us. So I'm going to do a couple more slices of banana. I slid my fork up the side of the banana, back just a little bit. I'm tapping my blade against the fork, taking it down the fork slippery slide, and sawing. I'm going to do one more cut, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. I'm dragging my fork up the side, back just a little bit, stabbing it down, tap the knife against the slippery slide, slide it down, and saw. So I have cut 5 pieces of banana. You remember how we talked how easy it was to pull my fork up away from the cut part of the banana? Well, sometimes we need to cut some food that's hard to do that. And so to show you the trick on how to do that, I wanted to try cutting some string cheese. So I'm just going to move my banana out of the way. And then my string cheese is the kind that's in the plastic packaging. And I can tell it's long and skinny. And to open it myself, I can feel one of the ends has some little ridges and grooves on it. That's the end I want. So I'm just going to pinch that between my fingers to try and separate it, because there's 2 parts of that and I can separate it that way. I'm going to pinch one side between my index finger and my thumb of my left hand. I'm going to pinch the other side between my index finger and my thumb of my right hand. And then I'm going to pull apart. And it might be kind of hard at first, but once you get past that first little bit at the top, then it gets easier. So that's my trick for opening up a stick cheese or a string cheese. If you guys like string cheese, type a yes or a Y in the chat. I like string cheese, but my daughter only likes the stick cheese. So as I am cutting my string cheese, and we don't usually cut it, but sometimes it's nice to have some cheese chunks in other things that we eat. Sometimes I like to have little blocks of cheese with some crackers, and that tastes really good. So to do that, I'm going to follow the same technique I did for my banana. I'm going to use my fork like my food cane, and I'm going to use the tines of the fork to feel. I have placed my food in front of me so that it's going left to right. And then I feel that it's a long side going left and right and a really short side. I'm going to find the short side on the right because I'm right-handed. And I'm going to make sure my string cheese is tucked underneath the arch part of my fork. I'm going to drag it up a little bit, come back a little bit, and stab it in. It's a little bit firmer than the banana, so I have to push a little bit harder. Then I'm going to take my knife, tap the blade against the back of the fork, slide it down the slippery slide tines, but then look, my cheese wanted to stick to my fork. So this is where I can take my knife and use it to help. If I take my knife and I slide it behind the tines of the fork, so behind the arch, and I press it down flat against my food, that can hold my food while I pull my fork out. Then I've got a nice little guide to help me know where to put my fork again. I just hop my fork over my knife. I slide it down in. Then I can pick my knife up and slide it down the fork slippery slide again. And I can saw my cheese chunk. So then I'm going to take my knife. It's going to hop behind the tines of the fork. I'm going to lay it down flat on top of the food, hold it down, and use it to pull my fork out. Then my fork is going to hop over my knife blade and stab down into my food again. And if you need some help to figure out if you've made it over, you could kind of drag it over your knife blade because you can hear the metal on metal sound going click, 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 click. And then as soon as it doesn't go click, click, click anymore, I can stab it down into my food. I rotate my knife up, touch it to the back of the fork, slide it down, and saw back and forth. Are any of you doing this with me as I'm teaching it? If you are, type a yes in the chat. And if not, that's okay. You can practice this later. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to slide the blade of my knife behind my fork, press it flat on my cheese, pull my fork out because my knife is holding it, take it over and hop it over the knife. I added a couple little taps to help me know if I was over the knife. Stab it down in again. I'm going to pick up my knife, tap it against the fork, slide it down, and saw back and forth. And that is a great technique for you guys to help cut your own food at the table. One other technique I want to show you guys is called the tunnel technique. And to do the tunnel technique, I'm going to start off with one of these pieces of banana that I have cut. I'm going to take my piece of banana and I'm going to lay it flat. So it's very stable and sturdy. And the short sides are like going up the side, if that makes sense. Sometimes we don't want to use a fork to hold our food while we're cutting it. Sometimes we want to use our fingers, and that's just fine. So I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to put it on the side of the food that's nearest me, right up against it. Then I'm going to take my middle finger or my index finger, whichever finger feels better for you. And I'm going to reach it over and place it on the side of the banana farthest from me. So it makes a little tunnel. So I'm rotating my hand so that you guys can see I have my thumb on one side, my index and my middle finger on the other. And the way my hand is, it makes a nice little tunnel over top of my piece of banana. Now I'm going to rotate it back this way so it's more comfortable for me. So to do the bridge technique, now I take my knife and I hold it by the handle like I hold my cane, and I'm going to carefully reach the blade through the tunnel, kind of like a train going through a tunnel. And then I'm going to lower it down on the food and I'm going to cut it all the way through. So now I have 2 pieces of banana. So I'm going to try that one more time with another piece of banana. It's in front of me. laying flat on the table. And the nice thing about having a flat spot of our food against the table is it makes it very stable when we cut. It's not rocking back and forth. And that's very safe and very helpful. So I'm going to take my non-dominant hand and I'm going to place my thumb along the side nearest me. I'm placing my index finger and my middle finger along the side farthest away from me. Now I'm picking up my knife. I'm going to slide it through the tunnel. And if I need to know for sure I'm in my tunnel, it's okay if I put the spine of the blade up against my fingers and like up against the arch. And I rotate it a little bit. If that helps me have that tactile feel so that I know where I'm at, that's okay because the spine, is the spine sharp? Tell me yes or no in the chat if that spine is sharp. And while you guys are telling me that, I've got my knife in the tunnel. I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to hold my food and saw through it. Just like that. Nice. So sometimes we can cut other food using this technique as well. So I'm going to pull out a hot dog. Now, do you think a hot dog's going to be as easy to cut as a banana? Or do you think it's going to be harder to cut than the banana? If you think it's going to be harder, type an H. If you think it's going to be easy, type an E. I think it is a little bit harder. I agree. I think it's tricky because I'm going to try and cut this one the long way. So I'm cutting it from one end to the other. So instead of making making a bunch of little hot dog circles, I'm making 2 long pieces of hot dog. I'm going to use the same technique that I did for the banana. I'm going to press my thumb against the side of the hot dog that's nearest me. And I have my hot dog running left to right, nice and horizontal. I'm going to put the thumb on the side closest to me. I'm putting my index finger and my middle finger along the other side of the hot dog, the side that's farthest away from me. And I have made a nice little tunnel or a great arch. I can take my knife and I can put it through the tunnel and then press down. And then I can slide it down the length of the hot dog. Sometimes if we need to, it's totally fine to move our tunnel as we follow the knife a little bit, especially when we're cutting long foods like a hot dog. For the banana, most of my banana piece fit in my tunnel, but the hot dog, I have part of it in the tunnel and part of it out of the tunnel. So if I need to slide my hand down to help me hold that hot dog, that's totally fine. So we slice it all the way down. And now I have 2 long skinny pieces of hot dog. I'm going to do one more hot dog the long skinny way. And then I'm going to show you a different way that we can cut our hot dogs. So I'm setting my hot dog, and is it going to go up and down or left to right? If you think I'm going to put it going up and down, type a U in the chat. If you think I'm going to have it go left to right, type an L in the chat. Help me get this positioned. Oh, nice. I see some answers coming in. I see an L in the chat, and I'm going to do it that way. If I had it going up and down, then I would be cutting towards me. And it's not a good idea to cut towards us. We always wanting to be cutting like away from our body, because if the knife slips, we could get hurt. So I have my hot dog running left to right on my cutting board. I'm putting my thumb on that long side nearest me. I'm putting my index and my middle finger on the side farthest away from me, and I make a tunnel. Now I'm going to take the blade of my knife, tip first into the tunnel, and I'm going to press that tip down into my hot dog. I'm going a little ways, halfway down my hot dog, but I feel like I need to move my tunnel too. So I'm going to stop cutting and just slide my fingers down the hot dog. Then I can continue to cut again, just like that. And I ended up with 2 long pieces of hot dog. Well, what if I don't want 2 big long pieces of hot dog? Because sometimes I cook food that I need smaller pieces than 1 cut can give me. Well, I can take the piece that I just cut, and I'm going to move some of my hot dogs out of the way, and I can set it on the table in front of me. And then I can hold on to it a little bit, depending. If I'm cutting with a butter knife, then I can probably hold it with my fingers and maybe just feel back a little bit and then make tiny cuts going the short way, like that. Or that's when I could always pull my fork out again and use the same technique that we used with the banana and with the string cheese. I can find the short edge, I can pull it, drag it up, pull it back a little bit, stab it down, and then cut. So this type of cutting has a very fancy name, and it's called a cross hatch. So we end up cutting the food the long way and then the short way, just like we have with our hot dog here. So I don't want to touch my hot dog anymore, so I'm going to use my fork. I'm going to find the end, make sure it's underneath the arch, pull it up, pull it back a little bit on the food, stab it down in, take my knife down the slide, and saw. And then one thing I really like to do when I'm cutting, after I've made it all the way through and I can feel that with my knife, I'm either hearing it on the cutting board, or sometimes if I'm cutting food on my plate, I can hear that sound of my plate. Then before I pick my knife up, I like to just push my food to the right, so it's a little bit farther away. I'm going to do one more cut on my hot dog, and then I think we're going to be done cutting hot dogs. I'm going to tap my knife against the tines, slide it down the slide, and saw back and forth. So how are you guys feeling about these new techniques we've learned to cut our food? If you feel good, type a G in the chat. If you think you're going to need to practice, type a P for practice in the chat. Nice, Donnie's feeling good. Monica thinks she's going to need some practice. And I love that point, Monica. Are you guys going to be excellent at cutting your food right away? Probably not. I've had a lot of years to practice cutting my food. And the more I do it, the better I get. And I love the idea of practicing with a butter knife, because then we don't have to worry about getting cut. Sometimes if we're cutting with this sharp knife, we can get really nervous that we're going to hurt ourselves, and then we may not do our best. I love how Mike says he's going to practice tonight at dinner. Oh, nice. We could practice cutting some apple pie. That is fantastic. I wish I had some apple pie right now. That would be great. So in our last little bit of time that we have together, I just want to talk about some rules that we can follow when we are using a knife. We want to treat every knife like it's a sharp knife. We need to be very careful with them so that we're not doing things with them that would be unsafe if it were a sharp knife. So you want to treat them all like they're sharp. if we if we have to walk with our knife, which hopefully we don't, or if we're handing our knife to someone else, we want to make sure that the tip of the knife is facing down. We never want to hand a knife to somebody with the tip going first, because that can be dangerous and we can get hurt. We want to make sure when we hold our knife that we have a good grip on our knife so that we are controlling the knife. When we're cutting, we are the boss of the knife, and we're the ones that tells the knife what to do and where it's going to cut. And then if we ever need to move some food on our tray, we want to make sure we set the knife down before we pick up any food or anything else, because that just helps us be very safe. One more trick that I learned from my students is they said if they're ever washing dishes and they have knives that they need to wash, they like to set the knife on the counter very close to the wall at the back so that it's running parallel with that wall. And then they make sure that the edge of the blade is facing the wall. And you can't see that in my camera. So we're going to imagine that there's a wall right here. I'm going to place my knife against the wall and the blade is facing the wall. That way, if any of our family members or our friends come and happen to find the knife, the sharp part of the knife is farthest away from them. That is great. So one quick review, because we have just a few minutes left. Let's do a quick review of the parts of our knife. So what part of the knife do I hold? Do I hold the handle or do I hold the blade? If I hold the handle, type an H. If I hold the blade, type a B. Excellent. Just like our canes, we hold the handle of the knife. Which hand am I using to hold my knife in? Am I using the hand that I hold my cane in? You can type a C. Or am I using my other hand? You can type an O. Which hand holds it? Nice. I'm seeing great answers coming through the chat. Yes, I use my cane hand to hold the knife when I'm cutting. I need to do that because the knife is doing most of the work. Awesome. What is the part of the knife that does the cutting? Is it the blade? Type a B. Is it the handle? Type an H. Nice. I see blade coming in. That's excellent. So here's a question just about the blade. Is the very end of the blade called the tip? You can type a T, or is it the heel? And you can type an H. Nice. The very end of our blade is called the tip. Excellent. And on sharp knives, that tip can be very sharp. I cut my finger just by accidentally nicking my hand with the tip of my knife. All right. One more question about the blade. I know it did hurt. Thank you. One more question about the blade. I have this part on the top of the blade that's smooth and straight. Is that the tip of the blade or is that the spine? Type a T for tip and S for spine. Nice. I see an S coming through the chat. You are right. It is the spine. It's very smooth. And is it sharp? Can I cut myself by running my finger along the spine? Type a Y if I can and an N if I cannot. Nice. I cannot cut myself if I run my finger along the spine. But what if I run my finger along the edge? Could I cut myself on that part of the knife? Yes, I can. Thank you, Jeremy. I can cut my finger on a sharp knife. On my butter knife, that's the side where the little jagged edge are. So we know that that's the serration that will cut through our knife. Yes, thank you, Mike. The edge is sharp. We need to be careful. We're not going to touch that part of it. So what if I want to find the serrated edge of my knife? Remember that trick I told you? I can take the edge of my knife and I can drag it perpendicular along the edge of a fork. So I'm going to have you guys type an S if I'm running the serrated side, or an N if I'm not. All right, here we go. I'm holding my knife and my fork. We're listening. Did I run the serrated edge? And we're remembering, we know that because it sounds kind of like a zipper, right? As it catches all those serrations. Nice. So what about now? I've just done it 3 times. Did I have the serrated edge there? Yes or no? No, I did not. That's awesome. Well, guys, I'm seeing Jeff pop back up on my window, so I think this might mean that our time is about done. I hope that you guys all can take these tips and use it to cut your food at dinner, to cut your food at lunch, to cut your food at breakfast, and help you to be more independent. And this will also help you to get in the kitchen with your grown-up and help them to prepare your meals, because meals that you cook for yourself taste so much better. I hope that I get to come back and do another session with you guys. I've had so much fun with my little budding chefs, and I hope you guys know that you guys can cook too.
Well, we would like to thank Miss Kathy for this wonderful lesson. I learned a few things myself today. Thank you to all of our participants for joining us today. I wanted to let everyone know that tomorrow's Excel Academy is going to be our man camp. This has been an ongoing session, so some of you may have attended in the past. It's specifically geared for our young men. However, we've had lots of participation from other students, so everyone is welcome, but our focus tomorrow is going to be generally on being a man and what's it about. And on Thursday, our Excel Academy topic is going to be dressing for success. So that should be pretty interesting. We're going to be talking about how to dress for what type of occasion we're attending, or for school or different events. So we look forward to having all of you join us tomorrow and on Thursday for our academies. And thank you again to Miss Kathy for a wonderful lesson today. I think we're all hungry after all of that food talk, so we'll be looking forward to a snack now. And I'm going to go ahead and pause.
It was great to see everybody.